Learn more about fun local events and interesting people throughout the heart of Middle Tennessee with a dash of everyday tech talk thrown in for good measure. The Local Click starts now.
Hello, welcome to the Local Click. This is the October 2023 episode. This is episode number 2 of the DTC podcast known as the Local Click. I'm Nick Noakes, and my co-host is Justin Melton. Justin, great to see you today.
Glad to be here for number 2 and counting.
That's right. Something must be going right because they asked us back. So we appreciate everybody joining us for the first episode. By the way, we now have a website URL that is active. So if you want to find out all the places you can listen to us, the different podcast platforms, if you want to find YouTube links, all that sort of thing, anything dealing with the Local Click, just go to thelocalclick.com and that will take you to a DTC webpage landing that has information about this podcast. Please feel free to share it out with your friends and neighbors and help us spread the word. We've got some great things in store today. So first interview that we'll have for today is Ace Gonzalez with Ace's Restaurant in Smithville. And Justin, I know you've been there and spent a little time there. What do you think of Ace?
Listen, Ace has a fabulous establishment that he has gotten there. Fantastic food, great atmosphere, wonderful person and individual running that. Amazing passion and a great story for him to tell. And you're going to want to stick around and hear what he has to say.
And then we also have an interview with Susan Melton of TriStar Title, and she will be discussing all the various very important aspects of the title business and escrow and other things that have to do with real estate. And if you live long enough, you're probably going to need services like that.
Yeah, that's an absolute essential business. So eating is essential for us too, but also if you're going to operate, own a piece of land, or do anything, title company is going to be something that's going to be essential, and we're going to be speaking with somebody who can help you with that.
Yep. And like last month, Justin will be here with a couple of segments. He'll have his tech news roundup as well as tech tips, and we'll have Jared Bradshaw here with his Ask the Expert segment. He's an employee here at DTC that helps customers every day. So who better to ask for a little help with some of the common questions that you may have when it comes to technology in your home than Jared. So we're glad to have him back. So make sure you stay tuned because it's going to be a great episode. And with us today, my special guest is Ace Gonzalez. Ace,
Hello.
Thanks for being here today.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great.
We appreciate this very much.
It's going to be a lot of fun because we get to talk about something I like to consider myself a very big fan of, food.
Food, yes. One of my favorite things.
Yes, and I've had your food before, and I know you're very good at it. So
We're trying. I'm learning how to boil water.
yeah.
So we're doing good.
I think you're going to catch on.
Okay.
I got a good feeling about it.
Thank you.
So for the people that don't know you, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business.
My name is Ace Gonzalez. Background for the past 45, 50 years has been on food. So actually 51 years. So
Wow.
A little bit, isn't it?
That's awesome.
Yes.
It tastes like that when you have your dishes. You can taste the experience in there.
It is great when you were raised by so many different nationalities, from German, Irish, Spaniard, French, English, European, Italian, and the last one is going to be great, Cherokee Indian.
Wow.
Unbelievable, ain't it?
That's awesome. That's
great.
awesome.
Yes,
Do you
so
ever feel like they're
never-
battling each other, trying to see who's going to come out in a dish?
It was excellent because from a creme brulee, which is a French dessert, or Italian tiramisu, we started with dessert instead of entrees right now, to any kind of a dish, could be the marinadas or the pastas or any beef Wellington, for an idea, which is a filet mignon wrap puff pastry. As a teenager, a young man, can you imagine eating that? That was awesome for me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Very good.
I do
Yes.
know at the end of this interview, I'll probably have to run out of here and go to your restaurant immediately and have
Why
something
not?
to eat. Because when
Thank
we're
you.
talking food the entire time,
Yes.
stomach's going to be growling. So so tell us a little bit about, well, first, what's the name of your new restaurant in Smithville?
The name of the new restaurant is called Ace's. And the reason it was named Ace's through my granddaughter, Bella, because when we owned the Cloverleaf for 20-some years, everybody used to write a check, the people that we knew, and put Ace's. Or they call this Ace's place. We get an award, it says Ace's, didn't say Cloverleaf. So my granddaughter says, Papa, let's call it Ace's. And we did.
I love that.
Yeah,
Who's to argue with that, right?
No, I'm not going to argue with my granddaughter. She's smarter than me.
And so where are you located? You're in Smithville, right?
We're in Smithville, yeah. 110 West Walnut.
Okay, so you're
on
in
the
downtown.
Square, on downtown the square.
Awesome. So how do you like the new place?
I love it. Number one is mine. And I did this for my kids and the family. So it's like a legacy thing. I wanted to build something that was completely unique in some ways. And everything was American inside, including the dishes, by the way.
Awesome.
Yes. I'm gung-ho for God, country, and family for sure. But to make a long story short, everything we tried to do, it was emphasized on quality. From the tile to the paint to the silverware to the dishware. American plates you cut into and they don't release lead or mercury. Other plates that you buy overseas, they release mercury and lead when you cut into them. My plates don't do that. So that's why I don't buy foreign plates. I like my American plates. God bless America.
You know, you think you're going to sit here and talk about, you know, food and techniques and stuff. You don't think about the behind the scenes parts of running a restaurant that are very important. You know, health
Correct.
and safety and little touches
Yes.
like that.
I guarantee you, one of the cleanest kitchen you ever seen. You're more than welcome to come in anytime, unannounced, and check anything you want in that kitchen. I assure you that.
So tell us a little bit about your background as far as where you were born, where you grew up, and your formative years and that sort of thing.
I was born actually in an island, Cuba. And that's what I was telling you before, all those different nationalities that mixed in, and being raised in the Caribbean was interesting. We left a country that was not communist, but it became communist when we left, and it was horrible. We were lucky enough to leave through, it was called Freedom Flights. My uncle from Long Island, New York, claimed us. And in other words, he did the paperwork and paid $500 a person to come here and get processed and do everything. It took 5 years to leave the country, so it was very interesting. I learned a lot.
How old were you when that happened?
13 years old. I'm never going to forget that day. We got into the plane. It was Eastern Airlines at that time. They were still in business. When they closed the door and the plane started rolling, they say, "Welcome to America." And oh my God, they gave me juicy fruit gum and Coca-Cola. One of the happiest days of my life.
One of the best snacks you've ever had, right?
Oh my God. We actually, when we landed in Miami, we held hands, prayed, kissed the ground, and thanked the U.S. for being here. One of the biggest things I remember after that, my uncle sent some money to my father. My father came out within an hour and a half, and says, "Look how great this country is." And he showed me $1, and he says, "In God we trust." I never forgot that. I get chills thinking about
That's
that.
amazing. I love that.
To me, can you imagine what a great country it is that says, "In God we trust"? Are you kidding me?
So you started in
Boca Raton, Florida, 1971 when we arrived, and I was 13 years old. February 24th, 1971. So I'll never forget that date either. But we went to school in Boca Raton, junior high, and middle school, junior high, and high school. So I graduated from high school in Boca Raton, Florida.
So did your background in restaurants and cooking, did it start while you were in Florida, or did
When
that
I was
come
in
later in
Florida,
life?
I kind of told them that I was a little older than I was, and I started working in restaurants, doing pots and pans for $1.75 an hour.
Hey, there you go. Really, this is all you've ever known, isn't it?
Yes, all my life.
The food service industry, the
Food
restaurant
service.
business.
I worked in
Yeah.
different restaurants under great chefs and very finicky, picky owners, very clean. One of them was called Patricia Murphy's Cascade of, here we go again, New York. And that lady used to come in with white gloves and used to check the kitchen and everything else. She used to run her hands under the shelves, over the shelves, everywhere with white gloves. And he better be immaculate. So that's the way I was brought up with that. And I never forgot that. And that's what we do the same way right now.
So how did you make that transition from Florida to Tennessee?
It took about 12 years to come up to Tennessee. I had a school friend told me to come up and visit, and finally we had enough time to running 3 restaurants. It was kind of tough. And had enough time to come up here. And it was a very rainy night, stormy night. My missus, my backbone, Was kind of afraid. We're not used to being so many curves and as dark as it was. And it was a bad storm that night. But as soon as the sun came up, she fell in love with Tennessee. And that was it for me. I did too. So we fell in love with Tennessee, ended up buying 40-some acres. We built our own log home. And then as years went by, before that, we started to run the Cloverleaf restaurant. But, and we love it. And we've been here for, oh my goodness, about 24 years now.
And I also remember from being at the Cloverleaf and there many times that family is very important when it comes to some of your workforce help. You seem to really embrace the family aspect of that.
I love the family. I think if we all pull the rope the same way, we can accomplish something. I have my daughter and my son that helps me. Even the grandbabies at the new restaurant that come in. The younger one don't do much, but Bella helps me in the front. And my son has 2 kids too, so they're not so much involved in the restaurant because school and stuff like that.
Right.
Bella is a grade 8 student. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yes, we love it. But the whole family is involved. My son actually in the new restaurant right now, and at the Cloverleaf, he cooks. And the wife is in the kitchen with me. And my son-in-law is in the kitchen now, too. So we have 2 employees. They're almost like family. They're on the dish room. But everybody in the whole kitchen is just about family except for 2 people.
You know, we really care about each other in a small town.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that part. And you go anywhere, hey, hi, how are you? And it's great.
As far as the restaurant business in general, how do you think it's changed over all these years?
You could hardly get fresh products. People around this area love catfish. I use domestic American catfish only. You know how hard it is to get fresh catfish in the middle of this country. Finally, I hope within a couple of weeks we'll get the fresh catfish. I haven't been able to since I opened here. Before we used to get it, the company that I was buying from is not there anymore. And the meat that we use is almost 100% organic. Instead of using antibiotics and stuff, believe it or not, they feed them garlic and onions, and garlic acts like an antibiotic. So the pork is organic. The chicken is organic. The meats are all organic, and the meats are all prime, which is higher than choice, which is you have different stuff. They're not injected with all kinds of chemicals and garbage and stuff.
Right.
You can taste, when you taste and you cut into it, it better be tender.
So what would you say maybe are your top 2 or 3 dishes that people request when they come in?
Biggest meat seller here is ribeye and filet mignon lately.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. The pork chop, too. The pork chop has been going great. And we do the pecan-crusted catfish with a tomato basil butter sauce. In French, it's called beurre blanc, which means white butter sauce. But actually takes the color of a little bit of the greenish of the basil and the tomato, so it's like a rose color by the time you get it.
What about desserts?
Usually can make a Belgium chocolate slice, which is a reduction of Belgium chocolate and heavy whipping cream and a little bit of meringue. And it comes like a gooey slice, and it's done with an Ingles, which is a vanilla custard sauce. And then it's decorated with a raspberry sauce or a chocolate sauce, too. And the other one is tiramisu, which is an Italian folded mascarpone cheese, and it has espresso. It has a little bit of holy water, I call it, and it's got a little bit of amaretto, a little bit of that, and it's simmered, so all the alcohol for people that doesn't want to consume religious beliefs or any other beliefs or their preference. The flavor's there, but it's gone.
What about technology as far as how does that help you on a day-to-day basis? Like I know DTC provides some of your services.
The phone service and computer service and my alarm system service, everything, whether it's home, any of my properties, DTC's got, including my video cameras and everything, 100%. We've been with your company, and I'm bragging about it, but since we've been in here in Tennessee.
We appreciate that.
The year. No, I appreciate it, and I appreciate this.
If you had somebody that wanted to get started in this business, and maybe it's be a chef Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's being a server or something else. But specifically, I'm thinking maybe more from the chef aspect. If they have an interest in food and they think, I think one day I may want to do something similar to this. What would you recommend to them? How should they get started?
I think if you have the love and the heart to cook and you're a clean person, I think you can do wonders. You can learn from mom and dad if they do things not from a box, from scratch.
Right.
But I recommend going to school. There's a couple of good schools out there. There's Johnson & Well, Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. There's the Cordon Bleu. They have it up here in the United States, which is a French school too. So there's different ones that you can. They will teach you the basics in cooking and management and the proper way to run a business, a restaurant. And not just on the book, is hands-on. And that's what you really need. You need not just books, smarts. You need to have hands-on. If you don't have hands-on,
you've got to have the real world
When
experience.
I used to hire my cooks, my assistant chef, I put an onion on the table, I put a pepper on the table, and a carrot, and I go cut it to see if they have knife skills. And if they don't, and you haven't been around a kitchen for a while.
Is there anything new and exciting coming up at the restaurant? I mean, new dishes, that kind of thing, or maybe upgrades to the restaurant?
Yes, we are doing a couple new dishes. One of them is the one I was telling you, beef Wellington. I've been trying to do beef Wellington. I've been asked for prime rib, so we're going to start doing a little bit more pasta dishes. We're going to flip it a little bit more Italian. And some of the, the steaks are still going to be there. But I would love for the people within the community to come and visit and experience our restaurant. It's family owned. You got somebody who believes in the Lord, the same Lord you do, loves this nation to death and willing to die for all the values of this nation, just like you do. And that's me and my family. I assure you that.
As far as your hours, now I think I recently saw you're open for lunch now.
Yes, we are open for lunch. Yes, from 11 to 2 for lunch. That's from Tuesday to Fridays only. And then for supper, we are open from Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay.
And it's from 5 to 8 until Thursday, and then on Fridays and Saturday until 9 p.m.
And if people want to learn more, kind of keep in touch with some of your announcements and dishes, they can, I guess, follow you on Facebook.
On
Is
Facebook,
that the best
please.
way?
That's the best
Okay.
way. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, everyone, you're going to want to follow this gentleman's here and everything he's got going on, because I guarantee you will leave his place and you'll be satisfied when you eat. He knows what he's doing. He's very humble, but he knows exactly what he's doing.
I'm learning how to boil water. You see what happens.
Yeah, I hear you.
The biggest thing in the restaurant business, once again, anybody can walk in and teach you something.
Right.
And if you think you know it all, I'm sorry, you don't. In any kind of business, we learn something new every day, and you have to be open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not open-minded, I'm sorry. You have to be open-minded. We learn, and you got to listen to your customers what they want, and what we can provide. But I assure you a good meal, and I assure you a clean place and a good value at my restaurant. Some people say, "Oh my God, I could go to a chain restaurant and get it $3 or $4, not the same meat."
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, there's no way you could do it.
Yep.
I know you can't do it. I've been in the market for a long time.
You know what things cost. You know what they're
Yes, sir.
what they have to be using to hit that price point, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's different. So, well, Ace, it was a pleasure having you on our show today, and good luck on everything. And don't worry, you'll be seeing us in there very soon, maybe today, because as hungry as I am after talking about all these dishes, I'm going to have to do something to cure the hunger bug. But you do such an amazing job. Thank you for being in our community, and thank you for everything you do. And come back and see us sometime.
Well, I appreciate it very much. And thank you, DTC and everybody else and all my great customers. I appreciate it. I really invite you all to come in and break bread with us. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to the Local Click. More coming up after this.
Here's normal internet speed. Here's the gig difference. Average speed, gig. Not enough speed, gig speed. With gig internet from DTC, everything's different. Video streaming is a breeze. Music and photos fly. And gaming gets real. With no data limits. That's the gig difference. Call or visit DTC online and get your gig today.
We're going to start this segment with one of my very favorite parts of the show each and every month, where Justin Malden joins us with Justin's Tech Tips. So Justin, take it away. What do you have for us today?
Well, Nick, today we're going to be talking about something that people know about, but is often overlooked. That's keeping your software up to date. I know we see those little pesky notifications, right? That little notification pops up, says, hey, your software is not up to date. Would you like to update? Most of the time, what do you do when that happens?
I have been known to postpone that.
Right. Most people want to click, ignore, remind me later. I know some companies have, remind me, in infinity, basically don't tell me again. I don't care about this, but it's really critical to pay attention to those. And it's very, very important to do it. The way that I see it is ignoring software updates, kind of like ignoring an oil change on your car. Right, you've got to do regular maintenance on the equipment that you're using on your vehicle. You wouldn't dare think about, I'm going to drive this thing for 5 years. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to take care of it or do anything to it. That may work out for you for a while, right? You may be able to get by for it, but at some point it's going to break down or something bad's going to happen, and you don't want to leave it stranded. Let's dive into why this is so important. First, 3 things. Number 1, security, right? The last episode, I talked about 2-factor authentication, and I said, I made the illustration that's like adding a second lock to securing your online accounts. Well, when it comes to security for software updates, this is actually the opposite. If you're not updating your system, it's almost like removing those locks at times, because there are individuals who are out there who are seeking to find what's called exploits. And for instance, a most recent update that came out through a known software vendor, all they patched was 2 holes, and they said these things are being actively exploited, which means people were taking advantage of them.
Oh, wow.
Well, in that case, you know what that's like? It's like having that door wide open. So there's not even a lock on that door. That door is wide open for somebody to walk right into. And so with software updates, they do security updates, and this helps fortify your digital fortress, right, to make it that much more secure. So the door's not open, the door's shut, the door's locked the way that it's intended to be. Unfortunately, there's going to be bad actors out there. There's going to be people out there who have made it a living to try to find these things and to hack into things. The second thing is performance. I talk about the oil change. You do that to keep your car running efficiently, right? To keep it running smooth, right? To keep the engine lubricated and to keep those parts long lasting. Well, the same thing happens with software. As much as software programmers want to be efficient in what they're doing, they'll learn along the way, you know what, we can improve this. I can make this faster. I can make this better. I can make this easier for you. And we want our stuff to be running as fast as we can, right? I don't want to click something and if it can take 1 second to do instead of 2 seconds,
right,
how much time is that going to save in the long run, right? And so software optimizations are part of the update process where it's going to make everything run more smoothly. Again, think of it this way. If you were running a marathon, would you wear a new pair of sneakers or would you wear a pair of sneakers that you've put 1,000 miles through walking?
If I was running a marathon, I don't know if it would matter what kind of sneakers I have, but I see where you're going with this.
Right. If you were an elite athlete, of course, you would want the new piece of equipment, right? Because you know it's going to function better. In the same way, the software optimizations refresh what the hardware that you've already gotten, it improves it even more. And then the third thing is we've got bug fixes, we've got security improvements, but the third thing is you get new features, you get new things. So sometimes we think about, well, when a new product comes out, it has these new features. Well, oftentimes they will introduce new features into the existing hardware. So through software, you can get some of those new things. You don't have to do anything other than update it. And maybe when you're trying to go to a map and you're trying to search for somewhere specific, you're like, I'm hungry, I want to find something. Well, you can click on a restaurant or you can click on fast food. And then when you do that, if you're in Smithville, maybe Aces pops up and it recommends, hey, come here and eat at Aces. And here's the phone number. Here's the hours. There's all kinds of features that you get through software updates. So you don't want to hold off because you are missing out on some new things that you can do. So ignoring software updates, not a good thing to do. In a nutshell, ignoring software updates, it's going to compromise your security. It's going to slow down your system. It's going to cause you to miss out on features. So you really, really, really want to do it. So when you see that update notification the next time, what are you going to do?
Stop what I'm doing, and I'm going to update.
You're going to take it and you're going to click it. I know Sometimes we sit back and think, oh, I've got to do whatever task is on my mind. I don't have time to do it. Most of the time, these software updates don't take as long as we
That's
think.
true. That's
anyway,
true. It's
right?
pretty painless most of the time.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple, and usually it's just you click update and it walks you through. Oh, it may say, oh, well, you need to restart the system, but it'll let you know, right?
Right.
You don't have to know anything specific. It will do the update automatically for you. So update your software, stay safe, stay updated, and make the most of your technology.
You're going to want to stay tuned because also we're going to have some more information from Justin a little bit later about some new technology in his Tech News Roundup coming up. I have two special guests with me for this segment, and they're both from TriStar Title, and that is April Miller and Susan Melton. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh,
today.
thank you for having us.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is.
There's something about the industry that you are both in that we take for granted as consumers and the importance of what you do, and that is in the title industry, right? So anytime you're going to own any kind of land or real estate or anything like that, there's certain services that you're going to need, and you guys really provide that service for people every day, right?
We do.
So tell us a little bit about what a title company does.
The bottom line is that when you walk out the door, we know that you own the real estate. That is the key, that we know that we have done everything that can be done to ensure that all the liens have been taken care of, all taxes have been addressed, any issues that may arise. We want to make sure that the seller's been divested of any interest and the buyer is vested with all the interest in which to own the real property.
How often do people need these services? Is it only when they're purchasing?
No, we also deal with refinancing. We take care of a lot of those matters as well.
Okay.
And banks also, when they're loaning their money on the client's property, they reach out to us for their services to make sure the title is correctly vested in that owner before they lend money.
Who usually makes contact to you guys for your services? Could it be a wide variety of people? Is it the buyer, the seller, the lending institution, or?
It can be one of many people. Usually, if there's a buyer and a seller both involved, we'll hear, and there's a realtor involved, that's who we'll hear from.
Where are you guys located? I know you have more than one location,
We
correct?
do, one in Woodbury and one in Murfreesboro.
And how long have you been in Woodbury?
Well, I've been here all of my life, but we started the title company in January of 2004. Prior to that time, I had been practicing law, and it was out of my law office. But basically, the real estate started because my father had retired from the DA's office and had come back to practice, and he wanted just something to keep him busy. So I started learning about the real estate business, and that's how I got started.
What about you, April? How did you get started in this industry?
Well, I happened to be in her office one day and volunteered to help her, not intentionally getting into the business. And that's been 9 years ago, and I love the business. I love the challenge of it. I love putting the pieces of the puzzle together. I love representing what we do to the client to make sure that it is done properly from beginning to end.
There's a strong attention to detail that's needed in this industry, right?
Oh, my goodness. There's not enough words to tell you how detail-oriented they have to be. And they are the face of TriStar. April and Anita, Judy, and Tracy. Tracy's in our Murfreesboro office.
We'll take a break here in a moment.
Yeah.
We'll bring her in here in
All
just a
right.
moment. That's great.
But you're right. It is a detailed business. It's no file is the same. No client is the same. No property is the same. So each time you take a file, it is a whole new process as far as the detail to that particular property. And you know, to make sure that your client is protected from beginning to end, you have to know that process to be able to put all the pieces together to deliver them the final vested title to their property.
Do you have any examples that come to mind recently where you've really saved someone a lot of trouble during a transaction?
I would say Susan was a part of this one. We had a client who came to us, it may have been last year, who had a piece of property that he wanted to purchase. and he wanted a title search on it to make sure what he was doing. And Susan reviewed that title search and came back to discover that whenever the bank took the lien on the property, that the entire property was not conveyed to that bank. So they actually did not have a right to sell the entire property.
Wow.
So Susan advised that client to step away, that would not be in their best interest.
I bet the client was extremely happy to know that you guys were battling on his behalf, really, to keep him from being in a very bad situation. So
that's true. And oftentimes it's somebody, and if you have someone who is trying to sell property very quickly, you need to make sure that you do that title search to understand why. That is another case that a title search, they wanted to transfer properly quickly. The title search revealed they didn't own the fee simple title entirely to that piece of property. So there again, the detail, the legality of what we do is to protect that client.
Right.
And there's so much fraud now. We've all recently just been to a seminar that we attend each year, which is very beneficial to us. And the fraud that is now becoming so involved in this business is unbelievable.
I bet the industry is changing so quickly in regards
changed.
to catching those kinds of things, right?
Yes.
It is. And the ones that are perpetrating the fraud are really getting to be
They're very good.
Sophisticated,
They're
right?
very
Very
sophisticated.
sophisticated.
And that's, again, where the detail comes involved. Because you're sharp enough, you can pick up on those things that you know that is not a client that you're doing business with.
And that's something, you know, if some people think they can save $1 sometimes and do some of these things themselves, you know, if they're just purchasing maybe a plot of land from someone, person to person without any of these services being performed, or they think they can get on the internet and check a few things and find the same information. But there's some of these red flags that unless you do this every day, it would be very hard to catch some of these issues, right?
That is correct.
It is.
What's a typical time length to do a title search? Is there a kind of a ballpark range?
We have a turnaround time as far as getting our title work back and those kinds of things. Is usually a 3 to 5 day range of getting it back.
That's not bad.
So if you have everything and it's a clear title, because that's one of the things we say is we can't tell you how quickly we will absolutely close this until we have our title work back that says we have clear title and no issues.
Makes sense.
And most of the time, if a realtor's involved, there's a time frame that's specified on their contract.
Yes, that's true. Right.
For a closing.
For a closing to handle. That's true.
Correct.
Yep.
Well, tell me a little bit about escrow.
We hold earnest money in escrow, which is the money that binds a contract between a buyer and a seller, often for realtors or just for two individuals. So we hold that money in escrow so that if that contract falls apart or they come to an agreement, then we give that money back. Or if that money's held in escrow, then it goes towards the purchase price. So we do that. We also hold the funds until obviously the contract has been complete. Once they pay for those funds, until we have a vested deed, in our hands, we hold that money before we release that to a seller.
How are the fees typically handled for your services?
Depends on what the contract says.
Okay.
So typically the buyer pays their fees, the seller pays their fees. And we, obviously, when you're buying, you bring that one lump sum check to us, and we disperse all fees to all parties that it needs to go to, whether it be paying taxes, recording, bank fees, whatever those fees may be.
We have Tracy Gullett here. Thank you, Tracy, for joining us.
Thank
today.
you for having me.
And you are the office manager in the Murfreesboro location?
Murfreesboro, yes.
Okay.
106 East College Street.
Okay.
And we're at 213 West Main Street, conveniently located across from the courthouse, and a great spot.
And the office manager for the Woodbury office, that would be
Anita Parton.
That's
Anita
right.
Parton. She's been with Susan for 32 years.
Wow. You get to know someone after
you do.
32
She's
years,
very
don't
good.
you? So we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I kind of want to dig into a little more details. And that question would be, why is title insurance so important?
So title insurance is important for both lender and owner, just depending on, if the owner gets it, and most often the lender does get it. But it helps protect against liens, judgments. There's materialman's liens that might be of record. Any break in title where maybe the ownership does it, it's not very clear how the ownership passed. It helps with those types things. I think you guys talked about estates earlier. So it helps eliminate any flaws that might have been in the estate as to ownership. So that's where title insurance comes in.
How soon should I be already in contact as far as getting my financing in order before I start looking seriously? Is it okay to go ahead and start window shopping, or should I stop right then and just get my paperwork in order for the financing? What's your opinion?
You should definitely do financing first.
Okay.
Because that'll let you know what you're approved for, because your real estate agent's going to need to know what their window is in the market, so what they can look for you.
It seems like there's always a lot of agents coming and going in the real estate industry. I see that quite a bit, just from the outside looking in. And I'm not saying that a new agent can't be knowledgeable, but at the same time, there are certain parts of the process you want to make sure that the person that's helping you with the transaction kind of understands it.
Well, they should be your advocate.
Right.
The agent should be your advocate. So everything within the transaction should be pretty much based on what is in the best benefit of buyer or seller.
And you're also signing a contract that is a binding contract, and that realtor needs to have a clear understanding to protect you. When you sign that document, it is a binding document, and you need a real estate agent who understands all aspects of what you are getting into and conveys that to you.
Right. So communication is a huge part, right?
Huge.
How many problems could we solve in life in general if we just had a little better communication,
People
right?
would just talk to each other.
Yeah, it would help.
So that's therein lies. Don't ever hesitate to ask us a question.
That's right. Let's talk about something that I see in the news quite a bit lately. Well, it's fraud in general, but in particular, wire fraud. It seems like that's kind of a hot topic. Does that also affect the real estate industry and the title industry as well?
It does. It's a huge issue. So we have to usually acquire the wiring instructions for payoffs, or they are included. And we always have to call and verify, especially if something's sent by email. You get real good at looking at the very end of an email to know if it's coming from a legit sender or not.
Yeah.
There's things that I guess we just tend to look for if we get an email or a fax. If something's off, like it'll have a very odd area code, like a 611 or a 116, and you just kind of know.
There's certain red flags, then you start to notice.
Yeah, you get real good at picking out what's legit and what's not. So, but we do that, and then we've kind of switched gears a little, and now we kind of want to cut paper checks and mail them, just because it's a little on the safer side, and then you don't have all the, I guess, the red tape and the, I guess I wouldn't say insecurity, but the fear of, I guess, sending it to the wrong place or the wrong person. Or so paper checks, I think, is the best way to go.
So in some ways, we're moving forward and with technology. In other ways,
we're going backwards,
right?
Exactly.
That's right.
Yes.
And
From a security aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. And oftentimes clients don't realize that they could get a bogus email asking them to wire money in, and you never, ever, ever wire money to a company without talking to them.
It's nice to know there are people that have your back and that are trying to help you avoid problems before they arise, because as we know in life, it's always easier to avoid the problem to begin with than to fix it, right?
That's right.
Yes.
So I know you're a DTC business customer, and so what are some of the DTC services that you use every day, and how does it help your business?
Okay, well, we honestly would be in trouble without you. We that's just the truth of it, because we use the internet and our phone services. That's how our clients get to us, is obviously by phone, a lot of it. But we also use your internet to connect to the services we use, to the emails that we use, to everything that without that service we would be in trouble, I guess we could say, because we do use it a lot. Also, we sponsor the Christmas parade, and we also sponsor some of the sporting events.
That's
that
right.
they have.
I see your commercial on a lot of DTC3 products that we broadcast. So
you're very important to our business, and we're thankful that you give us that service. And I can say that we've been pleased with it. And we also have, obviously, your alarm package on our building, so that as well we're protected that way. So we just have the full benefit of your services to us.
Well, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate you being our customers. So.
Thank you.
How can people find you if they have questions or want to contact you about your services?
Okay, I can be reached at 615
Okay.
867-3109.
And our office number is 615-563-7827. And again, we're across from the courthouse here in Woodbury. And so we always say we're at the red awning at the crosswalk. Just walk right on in our door and we'll be happy to help you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. I have really learned a lot, and I know they have as well. And we hope you can come back and see us sometime.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Absolutely. Stay tuned. More of the Local Click coming up after this.
You know that DTC provides great products and services to your home, and you can get the same great value for your business with DTC Business Solutions. Whether you're making sales over the phone or online to customers around the world, we deliver the reliable business solutions you need at a competitive price. And we do it all with uncompromising service. Let's talk about what matters to your business. Call DTC Business Solutions today.
Wrap up our second episode of the show, and we're going to do that with what we like to call rapid fire wrap up. And to kick us off is the Ask the Experts segment. And you must be an expert because you're back for the second in a row
That's
episode,
right.
Jared.
I guess I did a decent job to get a call back to come back.
Yeah, you must have passed the audition.
I guess so.
Jared Bradshaw with DTC is here with us today, and thanks for being here. And what are you going to shed some light on for us today?
Today is all about, accessing your router, figuring out what is the router, how to connect your devices, and, finding the Wi-Fi name and password on your router.
Oh, okay.
So basically, when we install your service, you're going to have this router here. This is what comes off of the black box, which is the ONT. When you want to find your Wi-Fi name and password on these, you can either look on the top. We usually display a sticker on the top, and you're going to see right here, it's going to say SSID. When you look at that, that's what's actually going to come up in your Wi-Fi name. So getting to that, you're going to go to your network settings on which device you're connecting. And when you're connecting that, you'll click on the CXNK. And once that comes up, you type in what is called the WPA key. That's your password. The WPA key is about 16 digits long. It can be found on this sheet of paper right here, or you can look on the bottom of your router, and if that sticker is not on top, you can access all of that on the bottom as well. When connecting, you want to make sure that if you're staying, if you can see your neighbor's router or something like that, you want to make sure you read the CXNK carefully. That way you don't click on the wrong one and type in, that long password.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're connecting to what you think you're connecting to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that it would probably let you connect to theirs, because the password, I'm sure, for theirs would be different anyway, right?
And you'd hate to type that in, and then once you type it in, be like, oh, I clicked on the wrong one.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, but no, you can connect to this wirelessly, or you can also connect to it hardwired. On the back of this router here, you'll see we have 4 ports. So let's say this router here is sitting next to that television. You can take and plug into the back of the router with an Ethernet cord and plug it into the back of your TV if it's a smart TV, and you'll be able to connect hardwired rather than wireless. And when you're that close, you want to connect hardwired.
What are some of the advantages or disadvantages as far as wired versus wireless?
Wireless compared to wired, whenever you're wired in, you have a more stable connection. You don't have to worry about wireless interference. But when you're connecting to, the wireless, you can connect all of your stuff that's not close enough to the router where you can hardwire it in, as far as phones, iPads. Some laptops will allow you to actually hardwire. If you work from home, it's a lot better to be hardwired into your router. But yeah, there's just a lot more benefits into being hardwired because you don't have to worry about that interference.
But I guess if you need the flexibility to be mobile, then that's where the wireless probably
absolutely. So let's say
have the advantage.
Your kid has an iPad or something and you want them to connect, they can connect to it. Or if you have a computer or TV upstairs, you can connect to it wirelessly, or Xbox, PlayStation, PC, anything. It
seems like a lot of the newer routers, such as the one that we're using at DTC, seems like they're faster than the ones I remember many moons ago. When this all started.
Yeah, this actually has 6 antennas in it, so it has a lot further reach than most of your common routers you see. So it's a lot better than what I remember back in the day whenever I was a kid.
If there's something that anyone missed and they want more information on this, can they go to the website, or can they give us a call, or what's the best,
absolutely.
Best
if y'all have a hard time getting this set up, or you don't want to, or you have an issue, finding your Wi-Fi name and password. Let's say your router is in a spot that's not easily accessible. Just give us a call and we'll walk you through it.
They're going to get help. And the thing that I loved is, Nick, you and I both know this. Our support team is just down the hallway from us, and they're always doing a great job right there in Alexandria for our local customers to be able to pick up the phone. You're going to talk to somebody right here in your neck of the woods.
That's what we like. So great job. There's a reason we call you the expert.
I guess.
And if you'd like his autograph, just get in touch with me no, I'm just kidding. So they're $5 a piece. No, I'm just joking. Also, is that too cheap?
No, that's expensive.
Expensive?
It's expensive now, but we don't know what's going to happen in the future, and that autograph may be very valuable someday.
He's got a point.
It may be a hot commodity in the future.
He's got a point there.
That's right.
You're a tech expert, and he's a tech expert, but his is for Tech News Roundup. And in fact, Justin, if you don't mind, take us away on what this month's episode is all about for Tech News Roundup.
Listen, this is getting to be the best time of the year for tech news. So we enter into the October time, and it's called Techtober for a reason. And so as we come into this, we have all kinds of people making announcements and setting up news releases and setting up product events. And the reason for that is it's the timing. What season are we about to come into? We're coming into the holiday season, the buying season. Everybody's getting ready to spend those money, find some gifts. And so it's no coincidence that during this time of the year, there's a lot of stuff that is being announced. So for me, if you know me, you know I'm an Apple fanboy at heart. So the first event that I'm going to talk about is the Apple event, the most recent event that they had, where they announced the number one selling phone in the United States, the iPhone. So they did some updates to it. So they've added another iteration to it. So the iPhone 15, the iPhone 15 Pros come out. So they do their typical updates where they've got some enhancements to the chip and the processing and the camera. A lot of things that people, you look and you see, oh, this phone's not that different, but there's some small improvements. The technology is so good nowadays, though, and the processing is so good. Sometimes it may be a little bit more difficult to know from generation to generation that there's a difference. I always say that, when you talk about cameras, the most used camera in the United States, too, is an iPhone. It is not a DSLR. It's not a mirrorless camera. It's an iPhone. Why? Because it's the camera that you have on you. That's what you use the most, is what you've got in your pocket. And so when they do these updates and they are doing these small incremental improvements, it matters because it's what's being used the most out there. Probably the biggest thing that they announced new watches, new iPhones. They updated the AirPods Pro 2nd generation with USB-C, and that's probably the most notable change that people are going to see in day-to-day is USB-C was brought to the iPhone 15 Pro and to the 2nd generation AirPod Pro. And for us, if you've been an Apple person, they've used a proprietary connector for years. Well, everything is going to USB-C. And part of the push really probably for Apple to do this was Europe is requiring USB-C going forward. But for all of us, that makes a difference because most devices are going to it. We're going to have a uniform connector going through it. Some other news around Amazon has done an event. Microsoft has done an event. So Amazon announced some new Echo devices, Alexa, which is their smart assistant, their voice software that they use, where they're generating some more AI stuff in it, opening it up to more third parties to be able to utilize that. Microsoft announced new Surface tablets, new Surface devices. Again, heavy emphasis on AI. You will probably hear AI on the Tech News Roundup a lot going forward. But then for my gamers out there, I can't leave this out. Nintendo did their fall Nintendo Direct on September 15th as well. So they've announced, for me, we're talking about legacy, Wi-Fi being faster now. They're doing a lot of remakes of some old Nintendo games. So Luigi's Mansion 2 is getting a remake.
There you go.
They're doing a remake of Super Mario RPG. So for some of us that played these games when we were younger, I'm nostalgic. And so that gets me excited. But they've also announced some new games and some other things going forward as well. So lots of stuff going on out there. It looks like on the horizon coming up for gamers, Microsoft is probably going to be announcing some new Xbox stuff. Sony's probably going to be announcing some new PlayStation stuff. Already seen some leaks. Don't want to mention anything because those are rumors. They haven't been confirmed yet. But again, October, really exciting time. There's going to be a lot more to talk about once we get through October. Everybody loves going back to those childhood things, right? When you were things were simpler, things were easy. Talked with somebody that I reconnected with that I saw out at an event this weekend. I talked about, back when we first met and we were back in school, things were just so much easier, right? So I think that's a way for us to get away, right? To relive those things and and enjoy the simpler things in life.
All right, Jared, what's the first game you remember playing on the Nintendo?
Has to be Super Mario.
Me too. Me too.
Oh,
That was a fun one.
I think everybody remembers Mario Brothers on the NES, and then of course for a lot of people, Super Mario World on the SNES is where it really broke through for most people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Unfortunately, if I want to tell my age, I remember when the original Nintendo was released, and I remember most of those first games, Duck Hunt included, standing about 3 inches from the television screen with the little gun there, the Nintendo gun, right, when you're trying to shoot the ducks, and then if you missed, the dog would pop up and laugh at you and make you feel like you were very inferior. So, yes, no PTSD for me during those moments, though, so it was all good.
Hey, listen, there's a huge market out there for retro games, whether it's through emulation or there's vendors out there who remake hardware so that you can output in HD, connect to your modern televisions without having to use things. I know because I have one in my basement at my house where I can replay all my old SNES games that I still have. I still have a Nintendo 64 that I have hooked up to the TV. So when I talk about these remakes, hey, I still go back and play the originals as much as I can too.
That's good stuff right there. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's right. You might want to hold on to that Nintendo 64 as well, because there's a hot margin for them nowadays. I mean, they're pretty expensive.
Yeah, everything that was, big there for a while kind of faded off, right?
That's right.
But then it's like everything in life, it's cyclic. So just when you think it's safe to get rid of it, sell it, whatever, nobody wants this, it starts fetching big bucks. If you don't believe me, go on eBay. Check it out, right?
Hey, anybody that's got vinyl records out there, that's a market too. Talking about this vintage retro stuff, nostalgia. I mean, it's happening all across the board, not just with video games, but any of that media is huge. That's coming back.
And I appreciate the information about the Apple devices, especially the iPhone. I'm rocking the iPhone 8 Plus, so I think it's time.
I think it's time every year.
I know you do. You're that guy, right?
I still have the iPhone 14 Pro. Don't have the 15 Pro in hand yet, but you best believe it's coming.
Yeah, well, that's good. Nothing wrong with that. So, well, I appreciate it, Justin. Good information, and it's nice to take that walk on down memory lane too about some of the games and stuff. Hey, maybe we should just all three of us bring a Nintendo here into the studio so when we're done one day.
We could play.
Yeah, we don't have to broadcast that because for me that would be embarrassing. So I don't know about you guys. Justin probably take us. He plays all the time. He'd probably whoop us on that.
Not as much as I would like to now that I've gotten older. I still play, but I will tell you this. Anytime I do play, I'm like, I remember that this was a lot easier when I was a child. So I think I've gotten worse over time instead of better.
Let me tell you, I'm a little older than you. Yes, your reflexes, they do slow down. So something to look forward to, everybody. So we'll start now with the very last part of our show. This is what we like to call What's Up DTC. And this is where I'll kind of go through kind of like a calendar list of where we're going to be and some things that we're doing. So we will start with October the 6th, and then we'll be at the Family Medical Health Fair. And then on October the 7th, we have the Pumpkin Festival in Smithville. October the 13th is the Cannon County Senior Health Fair. October the 13th also will be the DCHS Career Fair. On October the 28th, we have the Alexandria Fright at the Fairgrounds event. That sounds like fun. There could be some candy involved on that one, I'm sure. So, as well as maybe the Woodbury Pumpkin Festival on October the 28th, the Smithville Boo Bash October the 31st, and the Gordonsville event. What is that one called, Justin?
That is the Gordonsville Halloween Bash they have on Main Street there.
And that's on October the 31st as well. And then as far as some other things going on in DTC world, DTC 3 and DTC Sports specifically, we have 4 live high school football games coming up in October. On October the 6th, we'll be covering the Cumberland County at DeKalb game. October the 13th will be Westmoreland at Smith County. October 20th will be Marion County at Cannon County, and October the 27th will be Monterey at Smith County.
And there's all kinds of things to do in your local communities to get out there and be a part of it, and we're just glad to be able to be involved with it and to be able to be a part of it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of The Local Click. Jared, thank you once more for being with us for this month's episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I hope that we can talk you into coming back next month.
Maybe. You did promise donuts last time, and I didn't see.
He's got a point.
We could go to the last episode, and it's on there.
Yeah, we don't have to get the court reporter to review the transcript on that. I do believe I remember that. I may have faltered on the donut thing, which kind of breaks my heart because I'm as big a fan, if not bigger, than you when it comes to donuts.
Is that a challenge?
Yeah, we're going to make this happen. Justin, thank you also for always helping us out and sharing the tech news and all the other information that's going on around the area. So,
Hey, it's always a pleasure to be here and get together with you guys.
Okay, so make sure that you join in with us each and every month. We'll be here with you on the first Wednesday of each month for The Local Click. If you want to know where to find us, go to your favorite podcast platform and search for The Local Click, and we'll be there. You can also go to YouTube if you'd like to watch us in 4K and get the full experience. If we had donuts here, you could actually watch us eating donuts in 4K. Not sure if that's something you'd want to see or not, but probably not. But it would be good proof that I would bring the donuts. Maybe if next month we can do that. So,
yep.
And I also want to say if you're trying to find an easy URL or web address to type in to find more information about the show, if you go to thelocalclick.com, it will lead you to the DTC website where we have a page set up where you can listen or subscribe or get more information. So please be sure to keep in touch with us and tune in each month, as we'll always have new guests, new tech tips, new everything when it comes to technology and how DTC can help you maybe in your everyday lives. So once again, thanks for being with us, and we will see you next month.
Learn more about the show by visiting us online at thelocalclick.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast or video platform so you won't miss our next episode of The Local Click. See you next month.